Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Music for a Book podcast spring mixtape series. We are your hosts. I'm Britt.
And I'm Hannah.
And we are bringing you along for some fun remixed episodes leading you up to season 4.
Yes, chef. And this week we are starting our spring mixtape series by discussing Ina Garten's memoir, Bookshelves, and we have a very special guest author, Daria Lavelle, to finish this delicious episode.
Yes, and this episode is going to start out very similar to our normal review episodes. Then we're going to go into our chef specialty courses. We'll go over trigger warnings, brief synopsis for the book. We're going to reveal our song choices because, of course, we had to pick a song choice for Ina Garten's memoir. And there shouldn't be any spoilers revealed in this episode, but proceed at your own risk. After discussing the memoir, we will highlight some of our favorite fictional book chefs. And we will get to talk to an author that created one of those book chefs.
Dear reader.
All right, some book and theme warnings for Ina Garten's memoir. There was child abuse, emotional abuse, sexism, alcohol. Talked about the pandemic, epidemic, toxic relationships, cancer, death, cursing. We pulled these from Storygraph. This is the story of someone's life, so there are very raw, real emotions and feelings. If you have any concerns, feel free to check your triggers before diving on in.
And this is a synopsis pulled from Storygraph. Here for the first time, Ina Garten presents an intimate, entertaining, and inspiring account of her remarkable journey. Ina's gift is to make everything look easy, yet all of her accomplishments have been the result of hard work, audacious choices, and exquisite attention to detail. In her unmistakable voice, no one tells a story like Ina, she brings her past and her process to life in a high-spirited and no-holds-barred memoir that chronicles decades of personal challenges, adventures, and misadventures, and unexpected career twists, all delivered with her signature combination of playfulness and purpose. From a difficult childhood to meeting the love of her life, Jeffrey, and marrying him while still in college, from a boring bureaucratic job in Washington, D.C., to answering an ad for a specialty food store in the Hamptons, from the owner of One Barefoot Contessa Shop to author of best-selling cookbooks and celebrated television host, Ina has blazed her own trail and in the meantime taught millions of people how to cook and entertain. Now she invites them to come closer to experience her story in vivid detail and to share the important life lessons she learned along the way. Do what you love, because if you love it, you'll be really good at it. Swing for the fences and always be ready when the luck happens.
So sweet. We love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Song choices. Picking a song for a memoir is kind of difficult because, you know, this is a real person. Normally we're assigning songs to fictional characters, but there was one song that immediately popped into my head, and it was just a song that I feel like would play for Ina and Jeffrey. And to me, that is Timeless by Taylor Swift.
Same.
You think of their relationship and it is timeless. Like,
yeah,
100%. So love that we picked the exact same song.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it because we're probably going to have the exact same reasons why, too.
100%.
So this is normally where we'd say spoilers ahead. This is a memoir, so like we're going to talk about her life and everything, but it's not really a spoiler per se, unless you don't really know anything about Ina, which I was surprised about some things, but it's nothing I think that's going to stop you from reading the book, or like you wouldn't want to read it for this. You want to see how she tells the story.
Absolutely.
So, and then when we talk about book chefs, we are going to do our best to not spoil anything.
Yes.
But just proceed at your own risk.
Absolutely. And the first thing I will say is that if you are an audiobook person and you get the opportunity to listen to Be Ready When the Luck Happens, I think we would both highly recommend the audiobook because Ina does narrate it herself. And if you're like me and you grew up watching the Food Network and Ina was one of your like comfort shows as a kid, I would have rather watched Ina Garten cook than watch cartoons. That's just how I grew up. Her voice is just like a built-in comfort, and listening to her chronicle her life was so interesting. So many pieces of that. I loved listening to it in her own words.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why we picked this book, right? This is our mixtape series, so we have a lot of fun with it. But why did we pick her memoir to do?
So, like I said, I grew up watching her, but for me, like food is just at the heart of everything. Food is family, food is love. And I think that Ina's life is very intriguing and very interesting. And like I said, she was like a figure for me in the household growing up. It was her, Elton Brown. I always watched Emeril Lagasse. I always had that. And I love to cook. And I think I love to cook just because of my family. I mean, my mom's Lebanese. I grew up around food. I loved to be in the kitchen at a young age. And when Hannah suggested the episode, I was like, that'd be so fun to chat about that and chat about chefs. And do you have like a particular reason? Because I was surprised when you brought it up, but it fit in and made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, one, I love listening to memoirs. I love listening to books that are like about somebody's life when they tell the story too. I think it's a lot of fun. So I was excited to listen to this one. I grew up more watching like HGTV than Food Network, but we always still would watch Food Network because it was a lot of fun, and it's similar to crafting cooking is, and I'm more of a crafter but learning how to cook.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it would be fun, and it's a cool thing to talk about that we don't normally talk about on our normal episodes. So
yeah, we do mostly fiction. I mean, I think this is our first nonfiction that we've talked about. So
yep. And I read a lot more nonfiction than you do.
yes.
So I was excited that we found one that would work for the podcast.
Yeah, I have enjoyed the memoirs that I have listened to. That's something that I will probably do a little bit more of, but yeah, I'm excited. There were a couple of things that did surprise me, and I'm sure surprised you too. I think one of them for me was because Ina always felt so like, I don't want to throw the cliche like TikTok phrase, very demure, very mindful, but like kind of like she was the like the Hamptons woman. She had her blue shirts on. She hosted dinner parties for her friends. And so to listen to her talk about her life and hear how rebellious and how tenacious, and hear just like how much like spunk she had, and also spite. She was fueled by spite. And I kind of loved that.
Yes. No, I loved hearing about it. And her childhood too surprised me. Just how much like she really was abused by her parents.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why like she doesn't have kids, because she couldn't understand why people would want to have kids and bring them into that situation.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very interesting take too with that.
Absolutely.
And because I feel like when you host, like you have those like motherly like instincts.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Just like the start of hers and Jeffrey's relationship, like her going to visit college and like her brother at college, and he wrote to her and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like she went on a date with like his roommate and then ended up dating him, and they got married.
And Jeffrey saw her like out of like the library window as she was crossing campus and was like immediately taken by her, and they got married very young, and no one really wanted them to. Like there was just so many pieces of the puzzle, and I don't know. And that's not to say too, the one thing I do want to preface this by saying is that, you know, her catchphrase, her mantra was be ready when the luck happens. And I think she created a lot of luck for herself. I think we would be remiss to not acknowledge that she also had a lot of privileges and access to things that other people might not have. So I would, you know, some of this advice, some people might not have access to, you know, the financial stability and things like that she was able to. Also, it was just a different time. Like life was just different then. That's not to say that she didn't work hard or earn the things or, you know, find that luck herself. But I just wanted to make that little disclaimer, because that was something that like, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, a lot of these opportunities you were able to do because of, you know, X, Y, and Z. So
definitely. And I also loved hearing about where Barefoot Contessa came from.
Yes. Yeah.
That it was just the store that she randomly bought in the Hamptons that she like thought that she was like following her dream to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, she went from working like this government job to becoming the Barefoot Contessa, right? That we all know and love.
Yeah.
How, like for you, did her big career switch feel bold or inspiring, or was it kind of just like wild?
I feel like it was just one of those, like, when you feel like something in your gut is right and you just need to go for it, it felt like one of those moments. Everything kind of fell into place. And even though it's a little wacky and it was a little crazy for her to leave, I mean, she was working in the White House. Like, she was very intelligent, you know, very successful in her own regard outside of Jeffrey and everything that he did with the military. And I think it was just one of those, like, little cheesy, like, do whatever sets your soul on fire moments.
And I'm curious, have you had any of those moments?
Well, funny you should ask. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, I my whole life got flipped fully upside down, and I think down the line, Hannah and I are going to do like a reintroduction episode and tell you a little bit more about us, because I feel like sometimes we just don't, like, we just talk about, we yap about books.
Yep.
But I, like, coming out of college, I got stuck in the retail track, and I went to school for communications with an emphasis in ad and PR. And anywhere that wanted to hire me within my field was unpaid internships. And I was like, why did I just go to school? And why am I this far in debt to do an unpaid internship? So I got roped into retail, and I worked my way through multiple retail chains. I became a manager within 6 months of going somewhere. I ran my own, like, multi-million-dollar store. I finally left, went to another retailer, and then I became chronically ill. And that chronic illness is, like, it debilitated me in ways that I can't even express. However, it did open up so many doors for me in also ways that I could never even imagine. So I now do social media and member engagement for a couple Orange Theory studios, and I love it so much. But we also do the podcast, and I also wrote a book. My childhood dream come true, and I've been in the process of going through revisions right now, and I'm going to potentially, the hope is to query for a literary agent, but I wrote a contemporary romance, and that is the furthest thing from what I was doing a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So,
I know that's where, like, reading this book and like her going to buy the store reminded me of you just writing the book. Like,
Yeah.
when you feel it in your gut and that's what you want to do.
it was like,
It just flips a switch.
yes. And it was one of those, like, Hannah literally looked at me one day and was just like, why don't you write a book? And I was like, why don't I write a book?
Why don't I?
Yeah. And it wasn't like a plucked from thin air sort of thing. And we're gonna have to, like, have an episode about this eventually, but I used to, like, write on role play forums with my friends back and forth. Like, we would create characters in worlds. There was one, this is a hella throwback, but it was like La Même Histoire. It was like based in Paris, and I had multiple characters that were there. But yeah, I would spend hours doing that. I remember writing to an agent when I was like 14 from Penguin Random House, asking them, like, how I could write a book, and because I wanted to do that. So that's where we are now. Very large shifts in life. So I definitely related to that quite a bit. And I know you also have some experiences like that, because life, throws you some curveballs.
Yeah, I'm still finding it out though.
That's fine.
I don't know. We're still working. The luck has not hit me yet.
Listen,
I'm not.
You just need to be ready when the luck happens.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'll yap about my life on another episode again, but that's where we are. I've had a lot of changes these last few years. I've grown so much. I've been through the toughest struggles of my entire life. Those of you who struggle with chronic illness, listen, I'm with you. I never understood. I don't think anyone can understand until you're in it, but invisible illness is a horrible thing. And my hope for everyone, if you're listening to this and you've dealt with chronic pain or chronic illness, is that you are believed, that you have a great care team, and you can help mitigate and manage your symptoms. That is my hope for everyone with that. And I will step off my soapbox and we can talk about Ina Garten again.
No, that was fun.
Yes.
I mean, not fun for you.
But yeah, like a little tangent.
We're good. But so this book does mix, like, her person. I feel like I'm like interviewing
me
you about the book, but this is like my outline. So sorry, everybody. I'm interviewing Britt about this. But the book mixes, like, her personal life, her career highlights, and, like, the bigger picture of food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what part grabbed you the most? I can tell you, for me,
yes,
I loved hers and Jeffrey's story, because I'm like, we already kind of know the food side with, like, everything we saw. So
yeah.
But what about for you?
Her and Jeffrey's story, especially, like, I've heard bits and pieces over the years from watching Barefoot Contessa and stuff like that, but hearing it all laid out and hearing all of the things that they did to ensure that they would just be together no matter what, just really warmed my heart. And I also thought, genuinely, her personal life, like, everything that she went through really struck me, because I think that she is someone who approaches life with, like, levity in a way that I think can be hard for someone who's had that much emotional trauma and emotional damage. And I think that her finding the joy in things and like it makes me view the way that she talks about food and life and stuff like that in a slightly different lens, like a little bit more appreciative because she can find the beauty in all of those things. Also, she is hilarious. Like she is so funny. And I was like, Ina, and she swears a lot, which love. I'm obsessed with that. It just made her more like less of a like an elevated figure and more of a real person.
Agreed. But going off of like Ina and Jeffrey too, like one of the quotes that I loved from the book was, "Everything changed when I met Jeffrey. This is when my life began. We all need only one person to believe in us, and for me, that person is Jeffrey. With his love and support, I learned to believe in myself and found happiness and peace." And I think that like can play into a lot of different things. Like, yes, Jeffrey was, you know, her romantic love interest too, but like,
Yeah.
I think at the heart of it, they were friends and they were
Yes.
like support for each other.
Yes.
So even that person to believe in you does not have to be the person that you marry. Like, it just is the person that's there for you.
Yeah.
through
Someone
thick
who's
and
like
thin and understands you.
rooting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was like I loved just hearing about like the brownies or the cookies that were like in the shoebox and like when they wrote the letters to each other, just so much of the relationship when they were the one part of the relationship I did know from watching years of Ina's shows was their European trip where they were intense and you know, just kind of backpacking around aimless and enjoying Europe. And I remember it was probably on an episode where it was like their anniversary and she was cooking him roast chicken. Like that was probably what it was. But seeing it play out too, and in the book itself, there are photographs that she has in there, which is really cool. But I don't know. I just think it's so interesting to hear people's life stories and whether or not you're super familiar with them or not. I think you can always take away a little bit, you know, bits and pieces from other people and what their life experiences were. And so heading right
This
into
is like,
our song
I was going
choice.
to say, this is perfect time, right?
Yeah.
Because the song that we both chose is about Ina and Jeffrey.
It has to be. Like the I don't know, there was one line in particular, the end where the chorus shifts and it goes to the "I'm gonna love you when our hair is turning gray. We'll have a cardboard box of photos of the life we've made, and you'll say, oh my, we really were timeless." To me, like that was the moment that I was like, oh, this is for Ina and Jeffrey, like 100%.
Yeah. I also loved when it, in the beginning, when it's like the kind of love you only find once in a lifetime, the kind you don't put down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I called you, because, you know, there was that time that they like weren't together for a little bit.
Yes.
But then they were like, no, like this is it. Like this is the love that you can't put down.
Yep.
Like we are meant to be. So
Yeah. And just the whole vibe of it, like you were headed off to fight in the war. Jeffrey was in the army. I would have read your love letters every single night and prayed to God you'd be coming home all right. You would have been fine. We would have been timeless. Like they give me like classic timeless love. Like their energy is very they're like classic.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like that song just says it itself
Yes.
for this one.
And also
With
Ina
the vibe,
is a
lyrics,
Swiftie.
everything.
Ina is a Swiftie.
She mentions Taylor in her book.
She sure does. Like to me, they're the definition of what a soul tie or like a soul bond can be like, where so many things, I think is it called the butterfly effect? So many things have to fall into place for you to achieve like so many things. Like, Hannah, would we have met if we weren't in college at the same time and we happened to rush the same sorority and then we happened to be in the same friend group where like everything connected and just those like small little things. And everything about Ina and Jeffrey was everything tying, like them tying together.
Yep.
But this line too, I have to mention it, where it was, time breaks down your mind and body, don't you let it touch your soul. It was like an age-old classic. The first time that you saw me, the story started when you said hello. Jeffrey just peering out the window after she had gone on a date with his roommate. And yeah, I'm not surprised that we picked the same song for this one, because this was truly the only song that I felt like really fit.
Agreed.
There was one other song that I did think about, and it was Better Together by Jack Johnson.
I thought about that one too.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
Yep.
But ultimately I was like, no, this is Ina and Jeffrey.
Yep. All right, now for our chef special courses.
Yes.
We're starting with dessert because some of these chefs, I need them to cook me some food.
That's so fair. Now, with dessert too, actually, Hannah has not read this book yet, but I did put Caught Up by Liz Tomford on here because Miller Montgomery, our FMC, is a pastry chef. And I thought,
Love that.
how great would it be to feature a pastry chef in Caught Up? It's kind of a similar vibe to the 7-Year Slip without, too many spoilers, but it's about getting back to the roots and doing things with simplicity in the way that matter and not overcomplicating things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something with like M&M cookies and stuff like that. So I had to just mention a good old Miller Montgomery because we love Miller.
Yes. And I mean, you mentioned it, 7-Year Slip.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I think of his name?
Iwan.
Mm-hmm. Just the beginning, everything.
I did a reread.
Everything.
I did a re-listen this year, and God, is that book good? I love in a lemon pie. That's all you need to know. And that is also about just like getting back to the roots of it all, and what truly matters is like the love and the heart that you put into constructing food and things like that. But yeah, so love Iwan.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's such a good book. 7-Year Slip is by Ashley Poston, by the way.
And then we're going to be talking to the author at the end of this episode.
Yes.
But I just read Aftertaste, which comes out next month. And it was such a cool concept. I am obsessed with this book. It's not, and I feel like the rest of these are all romance, but this one, it has romance in it. It's definitely a love story too. But Constantine is a chef that cooks meals that bring back the dead, bring back ghosts. So it's very interesting, and it's like such a cool concept.
Yeah, I am so excited to read that one. Another fictional chef. If you know me, if you've been around, you know that this list would not be complete without Savor It by Tara DeWitt. And my hot pirate-esque chef, Fisher Lang.
I just finished that book, and yes, we love Fisher and Sage.
I'm obsessed with Fisher and Sage. Genuinely obsessed with them. What I love about Fisher too is that like he's like a Michelin-starred chef fallen from grace. So he's in this small town and he's cooking the most elaborate fucking meals, and Sage is just like, my brother in Christ. The townspeople here are not going to respond to your whipped gelato.
Can we have Taco Tuesday?
Yes.
Brunch? And Fisher's like, no.
Yeah, it like,
and Sage is like, yeah, you got it.
Physically pains him. He's like, oh God. No, I love him. Our last fictional chef, a little unconventional. Just a little. We have our first of the 3 Kane brothers from the Ruinous Love trilogy. We have Rowan Kane. And Rowan Kane he's a chef. He's such a great chef. He's also a serial killer. It's fine. It's fine.
We have a little bit of everything on this list.
But like, he makes sure Sloane has groceries. Like, how kind.
Right.
He takes out the bad guys himself. A little bit of vigilante justice situation. But he does open a restaurant. He is a restaurateur. Talk about a hot chef.
Yes. Eventually I'll finish that series, but
yes.
But what a great little dessert prefix for us.
Yes. All right. And now we get to talk to one of our featured book chefs. We have a guest of honor with us, Daria Lavelle, the author of Aftertaste.
Hi.
Yes. Hello.
This book was recommended to us by Becca, who is actually a guest host during our last Mixtape series. And she texted me immediately after this book and said, you need to request the ARC. It's open. And I became obsessed. So I am very excited to welcome the author herself here. Welcome, Daria.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled and honored to be here to talk with you.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. Would you like to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are?
Yeah, I'm Daria Lavelle. I'm the author of Aftertaste. I am really excited to have this be my debut novel. I've been writing for a long time, and it feels like a complete dream because it's the dream book that I wanted to put out into the world. I'm very much a foodie person, which will be reflected in the book.
Yep.
And also definitely a music pairing person. So I'm especially excited for this podcast because I'm a writer who definitely vibes on playlists and put stuff together as I'm working. So it's really exciting to be here.
Just the best. So we are going to go over trigger warnings and a synopsis for Aftertaste. And then after, we're going to reveal our song choices. Well, Daria and Hannah are going to reveal our song choices. I don't have one yet because I'm currently drowning in arcs, and that's fine. But I have it ready to go, and I'm so excited to get through it.
Yay.
So some brief trigger warnings. We did pull these from Storygraph. We have death, grief, suicide, mental illness, a suicide attempt, self-harm, just to name a few.
Yeah. And then, Daria, do you want to give us a synopsis of Aftertaste kind of in your own words?
Yeah, absolutely. I will also say those are very dark triggers. It's also a very fun and vibrant.
Yes, it is.
Like fun and funny.
Yeah,
book,
don't let that
dissuade you from picking it up. So Aftertaste is part ghost story, it's part love story, and it's all food story. It's the story of a man named Constantine who loses his dad when he's young, and he gains the ability shortly thereafter to taste the food of the dead. So flavors that he's never experienced, foods he's never eaten, just kind of flood his mouth, and he knows that a spirit is present and it's manifesting in that way. And it freaks him out completely. So he keeps it a big secret for most of his life. And then he's in his 30s. He's working this dead-end job. He's a dishwasher at a fancy New York City speakeasy. And he experiences one of these aftertastes. And he decides that he's going to actually make the dish for the first time. And something amazing happens. He discovers that by cooking this food, he can actually bring a spirit back from the afterlife for one last meal with their loved ones. And this sets him on this journey to open a New York City restaurant serving closure, never expecting that it's going to lead him to fall in love with someone with her own secret connection to the afterlife and the dead, or that it's going to wreak total havoc on the afterlife itself. So it's a book that kind of asks the question, what if you could have one last meal with someone you loved, someone that you lost? And how far would you go to make that happen? And is that a good idea?
I mean, listen, if there's anything that's right up my alley, it's a story with ghosts and food and romance. Like, truly, I'm so excited to actually get to this book.
Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about our song choices.
Mm-hmm.
Daria, do you want to go first?
Yes. So I would love to. My song, which I always had in the back of my mind as I was writing this, is Ghost by Justin Bieber.
It's such a good song.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll go into all the reasons in a little bit, but
yeah,
it struck so many different notes that I thought were so just apropos for this book.
Totally.
And I picked Two Ghosts by Harry Styles.
Of course.
Still on the ghost theme, but
okay, well, I'm already sold.
Love Harry Styles.
And we are going to keep this chat as spoiler-free as possible, since we have about a month until the book comes out, and we don't want to spoil anything for Britt. We just want to be excited about it. So we do have some questions for you, Daria. First, what was your inspiration behind Aftertaste?
So it's funny. I was telling the story to someone recently, and they pointed out that the way that this story came to me is like eerily similar to the way that Constantine experiences Aftertaste. Like it just sort of arrived one day. So it was in 2013. I was working my job in advertising. I was a brand strategist. And every day after work, I would work these long agency hours, and then I would haul myself to a cafe and I would sit and I would write until they kicked me out, because writing was always what I wanted to do. And I remember it was January, it was 2013. It was probably miserable outside in New York City. And this idea just sort of appeared to me fully formed, like this image. I tend to be a writer who goes off of like strong conceptual images to start. So some writers start with characters, some writers start with plot. Mine is always like a fully formed scene. And so this scene came to me of this guy plating this dish in this Hell's Kitchen apartment. The apartment is like really crappy and falling apart. And he doesn't look like a chef. He just looks like someone experimenting, but he's very meticulously putting things on the plate. He's, wiping the edge with a towel. He's really trying to perfect what he's serving, and he slides it onto the table. And this beautiful glittering ghost comes through this crumbling brick wall and tries to eat it. And so I knew as soon as that came into my head that it was something really special. It wouldn't leave me alone. I kept thinking about it and trying to unpack it. And I had all these questions, right? Like, who is this guy? Who is this ghost? What is this food? Mm-hmm. Why is the food bringing her back? How does he know what to make? All of those things were sort of percolating. And I tried to write into it a couple of different ways. I wound up writing a couple of scenes that wound up in the middle of the book with the supper club in Hell's Kitchen. but I didn't come to this idea that he's experiencing these flavors from beyond until much later. I actually didn't start writing the book in earnest until 2019, 2020. But along the way, I collected all of these little breadcrumbs that led me to all of the scenes in the book. I would be out living my life. And for example, my husband and I were going to see a show, and we stopped for a drink at a hotel bar, random hotel bar. Yeah. And I look up, and the bar is called the Library of Distilled Spirits. And like something went through me like a bolt of lightning. And I said to my husband, I was like, I can't talk to you for the next 15 minutes. I have notes I have to take. And so things like that kept happening over the years. I had these ideas for scenes, these ideas for different moments in the book. And that's kind of how it came together for me.
Love that. So with your writing process specifically, plotter or a pantser, how has anything changed over time? But the visual representation of scenes is really interesting, because as you get something, it's like this urge to like immediately put it to paper, because you just have this like visual. But did you plot out the novel in full? Did you just take your time to write these scenes as they came to you? Kind of what was your process with all of that?
Yeah. So once I decided like this is my project and I'm working on this in earnest, like I definitely by nature am a pantser, and I don't believe when people say that's not a thing. It is a thing. I will say like self-admittedly asterisk, it just takes like 6 times as long as if you're outlining. I've learned that the hard way multiple times now. But that's just how my creative brain works best. And so what I think happened with this novel, and what I think I will try to replicate in the new projects that I have going forward, is I have this idea that I'm really excited about, and it won't leave me alone, but it's just an image or it's just an idea, and I need to flesh out all of the questions behind it. And a lot of people do that by outlining. I do that by writing. So I write my way into it. I discover my characters. They surprise and delight me. And to me, that's like the pleasure of writing. That's where I derive so much of the joy and the excitement, by not knowing where I'm going and kind of following these scenes. So I get through a first draft on the basis of that. And then I go through and I kind of reverse engineer a plot and an outline based on what I've written, especially writing speculative fiction where you have rules and magic and you have, worlds that you have to build out and things have to be consistent. That's where you have to really rein yourself in and hold yourself more accountable to an outline. So at that point, once I know what the story is, what the emotional arcs are, then I'll go back and I'll outline. And what I find that does for me, at least, is when I get to twists in the story, I'm as surprised as a reader reading it, being like, oh, I didn't expect that, because I really didn't expect that. I'm following these characters and they're leading me there, and I'm following these scenes that I'm kind of articulating in my head. And so for me, I find that's the way that I work the best. I am working on something else now where I've outlined more. I'm basing it on something else that I've worked on for a while, and going into it, I'm forced to derive different pleasure and different joy from the writing process, because I know what the steps are. It's not surprising to me anymore.
So looking at Aftertaste, what can people expect in terms of vibes and tropes? I know that like grief is a big thing that we talk about. I highlighted a couple quotes. So before, one of my favorite quotes from the book is, grief's like leftovers that way. Like you made this 4-course meal out of your love, but they only get to eat one little bite. So what can people expect with Aftertaste?
Yeah, I think I very consciously went into this book wanting it to feel like a tasting menu, wanting it to feel like there's a lot of different flavors, that it's not one note. So even though the book is about grief and meditation on loss and the things that haunt us when someone's gone, it's also about life and joy and love and connection and the way that food facilitates all of that. So in terms of tropes, I went very consciously into the realm of all the things that I love about cooking and food and kitchen tropes. So you've got, scenes that are similar to The Bear, where you've got the behind the scenes of professional kitchens. You've got, Top Chef style throwdowns. You've got secret recipes. You've got family recipes. You've got eating over a kitchen table. You've got shared meals. You've got holes in the walls and kind of hidden gems and speakeasies and just really fun set pieces like that. But all of them I tried to do with a twist, with a supernatural kind of element to it. So it's not something that or are as familiar with. And then there's also a love story. So there are certain romance tropes that I similarly tried to subvert. So it's not really a meet cute with the two main characters so much as a meet I hate you. They really don't hit it off in the beginning. And then when they meet again later on in the story, it's certainly not a slow burn. It's more like this blistering sear and everything is on fire between them. So I thought that it was a fun way to go into a romance where I wanted it to burn really hot, and then I wanted to go back and show us why that is. There's a legitimate reason for that in the story.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, now I'm so excited. Now
I told you.
I know.
It's a lot of fun.
Life has been knocking me down, but it's fine. Now, how would you like your ideal feeling that you could instill in someone about the book after the ending without spoiling it for me? But Hannah is very excited about this.
Without spoiling it, I mean, I think I want people to put down the book, and I want their immediate reaction to be like, damn, that was a ride. Yeah. I am thrilled. I felt every emotion. I was excited. I was heartbroken. I swooned. I cried. I laughed. I want them to feel the full spectrum of emotion. So like, high bar. But I think I also, my dream reception for this is that people have a longer kind of lingering feeling with it. I think it's really easy to read a book and you're really in it and it's really exciting while you're there, and then weeks later you move on to the next book and you don't think about it anymore. Mm-hmm. My dream would be to have this be a book that people continue to think about, and that it lingers with them in the sense of, every time they eat a particular meal that reminds them of someone they've lost or someone they love who's even with them, I want it to have a different resonance and a different meaning, and I want them to take that experience from the book with them into their life. Like that would be the most special, meaningful thing for me.
I love that. And that's something like I grew up, my mom is Lebanese. So I grew up in like a very strong Lebanese culture on my mom's side of the family. So
amazing food. I'm very
jealous. So good. So good. So we grew up in Michigan, very large Arab American population. And that's one thing, like food is a connector of love, of family, especially for me. And even ironically tonight, like my mom's planning on making a meal and she's making a big like Arabic meal with grape leaves, with the stuffed squash, with everything. And that is forever an emotion that I connect to my sitto, to my grandmother. So just what a cool and refreshing concept that you have in a book, because I've never heard of or read anything like this. And I just think that this is going to be such a cool, unique read for so many people.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. And so much of Kostya's story is based on my story. So my family emigrated from Ukraine when I was 2. Mm-hmm. And very similarly to you, all of the kind of traditional cultural food that we ate, that was such a tether to my homeland, because I was so little. I had so few ways of accessing it and remembering it. And food is like this profound connective force, and I think that's true for so many generations and so many stories and so many people. And I think, as I've talked about this book with different folks and it's starting to kind of make its way into the world, one of the coolest things is like everyone has an aftertaste. If you present it as like, what meal would you come back to eat if you died, that's like everyone's got one. There's always something, and it's always tied to a person they loved in a special moment. It's never just like, this random bagel off a street cart that tasted good. No, it's like, it's always deeply meaningful, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So perfect to segue into our fun
questions. Yes.
What do we think our meals would be?
I know mine. It's very, very, very specific. So my aftertaste would be a chocolate cog as in the hardware tool, that was on the 2012 dessert menu at the restaurant Le Jules Verne, which is on the Eiffel Tower. Beautiful 2 Michelin star restaurant. But this cog has to be eaten in the pouring rain with lightning on the terrace of the Eiffel Tower, with the smells of like petrichor around you, because that was the dessert of the meal that my husband and I had right before he proposed to me. So he planned this like really special experience. I had no idea it was coming. We were both extremely nervous because I thought maybe this is it. And he was like, does she know this is it? And then afterwards we went out on the balcony and he proposed, and it was just beautiful and perfect. And that's what would bring me back.
I
Love that.
Mine is actually the meal I think I just talked about, the grape leaves, the kusa, but like a spread of all of my favorite Lebanese things. Like I was made fun of when I was little because I would bring like Kalamata olives and cheese and pita bread to school because it was like my favorite thing.
Of
And
course.
kids were like, "What is that? That's so weird."
Kids are the worst. Kids are the worst about that, about food especially. And it's so funny because I think, like, same, I was a stinky lunchbox kid,
Yeah.
and I think you don't realize when you're little, like, that's the food you're going to crave when you're older, and that adults are going to be so excited by.
Yes. And I was like, listen, it may not look pretty, but this is just an absolute banger of a meal. I will not apologize for it, but I do think that like, because I just have so many ties, that is my family's like collective favorite. So
I love that.
Yeah. I think mine would be, so my first Valentine's Day with my husband, like when we were dating, he's like, what do you want to make for dinner? And I was like, well, I love Thanksgiving dinner. So he made like this big Thanksgiving dinner for Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh.
It was just delicious. I love mashed potatoes. So like that was so great. And now it's our tradition every Valentine's Day. So we make a Thanksgiving dinner.
Probably that's a lot of work. It's a lot of dishes.
Oh, yep. He does it all. So I commend him. He's great for that. But yeah, I think it would be that first Thanksgiving dinner on Valentine's Day for sure.
Amazing.
I love that it's a holiday on a holiday. Like, how fun. I know.
But then we don't have to fight for reservations. Like, if we wanted to go out for Valentine's Day, we just stay in.
So true. And all of the ingredients are readily available because no one's fighting to make a Thanksgiving dinner together.
Yeah, in February. Nope.
Yeah. And then, Daria, what is your favorite restaurant, or do you have like a particular favorite restaurant?
Oh gosh, I could no sooner choose a favorite child. I love all restaurants equally, truly. And I'm very much a person who, whenever we go on vacation, that's like the first thing I'm like, where are we eating? That's the most important thing to me. I will say some restaurants I've eaten at recently that I really, really loved. Just some of the best meals I've had. We ate at Family Meal, which is a restaurant in New York City that's by Blue Hill Stone Barns, and it's just exceptional. It was one of those meals where every single thing that we ate was just perfect, like pitch perfect.
Yeah. The
balance was incredible. It was amazing. And then we went to the Girl and the Goat in Chicago, which was also unreal. Another one of those experiences where like every single bite from the bread course to the dessert was just like chef's kiss, delicious. Yeah. And recently we went to do a tasting menu at Atomics in New York City, which is this like really cool kind of Korean fusion inspired food, and everything was just meticulous and so well presented and just so beautiful. Like it felt like being in one of those almost high-end movie restaurants, and it was just really fun to watch because you could kind of see into the kitchen from where you sat. It's a very small restaurant with just a few seats, and it was just a really special experience.
It's so cool. Do you have a favorite celebrity chef?
I have a lot. I'm a kid who grew up, I grew up watching the Food Network just like it was my job. It was always on. We had this tiny little TV in our kitchen, and it was like when I say constantly, like it was always tuned to the Food Network. We were watching religiously, and so I grew up watching Ina Garten. I grew up watching Nigella Lawson. She actually blurbed the book, and that was like life goal unlocked right there.
Incredible,
because she's just so incredible. And recently, I've loved discovering Stanley Tucci as a food kind of phenomenon. And Anthony Bourdain, the late Anthony Bourdain, is a huge influence, not only on the way I eat, but also on this book. I think reading his work has been so instructive and life affirming and just beautiful. And I think a lot of what I think about when I think about food is informed and kind of supplemented by his own points of view.
Yeah. That's so cool. I also grew up, instead of like staying up late to watch cartoons, I would stay up late to watch Emerald Lagasse live. With my mom. Every time. Like Elton, Ina, Rachel Ray, like all of those were constantly playing. And I feel like I thought it was, again, like a normal thing to just pretend like I was a 5-star chef through osmosis. Like clearly I've watched this my whole life. Like I should know how to be a chef.
Right.
I do think one really cool thing that happened, at least for me, when I was watching all these cooking shows, was I started to see the patterns of like what went with what.
Mhm.
And so I never, as I got older, I never questioned, like I would open the fridge and I'd be like, oh, I can make something out of whatever remnants are here because I know that this flavor and this flavor go together. And I know if I'm starting a sauce, you know, I use these 3 ingredients and I chop them up and I fry them. So I think it's interesting. You start to see patterns, and across different cuisines, you can kind of manipulate certain things, but the basic things of what go together are always there. And then every once in a while you like surprise yourself and throw in an ingredient where you're like, I think this would just like add something to this, and then it does.
That's so funny. And do you ever get the how did you learn how to cook? Because all of my friends were like, how did you learn how to cook? And I'm like, I just watched the Food Network growing up.
All the time. I mean, I've gotten that question a lot recently, especially with this book, but I mean, I watched the Food Network, but also my parents were incredible cooks, and they were also, you know, they grew up, and I grew up, everything was homemade. Like we made our own pickles. My mom would make her own yogurts and stuff like that, because that was just what you did in Ukraine. And so she continued to do that here. My dad is an amazing cook, and they also just were really adventurous. They branched out. So they would, a lot of people have fear of branching into cuisines that are unfamiliar, or like going to a grocery store that's got unfamiliar ingredients. My parents had none of those fears. They'd be like, I bought this Japanese cookbook, and we're going to go and get these ingredients and make sushi at a time when like nobody was making sushi at home. And we just did it. It was just fun. So I think that was part of it too.
What amazing experience.
That. I have a ton of allergies, so like growing up I feel like I was very sheltered. But my husband loves to cook, so like he's been big on like trying new things and incorporating my allergies, so I love it. It's a whole new world for me right now. So
and it's also it's gotten so much easier to get ingredients. Like when I was growing up, there were certain things where like you would kind of roll your eyes when you saw it on the Food Network. Like there's no way that I'm gonna get this obscure spice or like this kind of saffron. But now you can.
Yeah.
And then, do you have a favorite book chef? Have you read any books featuring chefs that stood out?
I was thinking about this, and I was racking my brain because there's a lot of cooking in books, but they're actually very like there are also a lot of like fictional chefs in film and TV, but there aren't so many in books. But the ones that came to mind were more of like home cooks, but I love them all the more for that. So Elizabeth Zott from Lessons in Chemistry came to mind. And then Amy Bender's The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake, the mom in that particular book. So if you haven't read it, it's all about how what the mom cooks imparts these feelings and emotions. When the daughter eats the food, she gets like the particular sadness of her mom's lemon cake, because all of her mom's sadness goes into that cake. So it's this beautiful connection, but also like the way that food is described there is really amazing. And then the character Tita from like Water for Chocolate is a really cool character and uses food to similarly convey her emotions and pour them into what she's creating. So I was again struggling to find like a chef, but I think
No, those sound interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our songs.
Yes.
So Daria, if you want to go first and talk about our boy J Beebs.
Yeah, so this song comes to mind as just a really good kind of backtrack to Aftertaste, because initially when you first hear it, it doesn't sound like a song about grief. It doesn't sound like a song about loss. It's upbeat. It's kind of like a dance track. It's got that like cool sort of techno-y feeling to it, especially in the beginning. But then when you listen to the lyrics, it's like deeply emotional. When he goes into the chorus and the verse, it's what he's saying is deeply emotional. And I keep thinking about, you know, the one line from it, if I can't be close to you, I'll settle for the ghost of you. I miss you more than life. And that's kind of the crux, I think, of the story for me. So it's in a lot of ways about these living characters who can't let go of people who have passed away to the point of their own detriment. So there's certain mechanisms that happen in Aftertaste where, you know, not every ghost has an aftertaste. Not every spirit wants to come back or can come back. And it has to do with the way in which the living hold on, and when they hold on to the point where they can't live their lives anymore, it sort of creates this tether that creates lots of problems for both the living and the dead who are connected by it. Because I think in my head, you know, the people that we love want to be remembered and need to be honored and need to be in our lives, but I don't think they would want to be the thing that holds us back from living. And so that line in the song, I miss you more than life, is really meaningful to me for that reason, because it's beautiful, but it's also heartbreaking, right? Like this is a person who is who is crippled by this loss.
Oh, I think it's a perfect song for it.
Yes.
I also love the song I chose. I feel like it fits really well. Like when I finished it, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Because it just starts out to, you know, same red lips, same eyes blue, same white shirt, couple more tattoos because, you know, the tattoos.
All the tattoos.
And then it's like, taste so sweet, looks so real. Something sounds like something that I used to feel. And I feel like that's a lot of like, you know, the aftertaste and that, you know, you see the ghost right after that. And I won't go into it too depth because there are some things that I feel like tie into how it ends. But like the chorus for sure. And even like the fridge light washes this room white, moon dances over your good side. This is all we used to need. Telling the stories we already told because we don't say what we really mean. So just, I feel like ties to the book. And it also, where I feel like Ghost by Justin Bieber is like sounds more upbeat. Like this Harry Styles song is a lot more like vibey and
very
has
reflexive.
that. Yeah. So I love that song. And I was so happy to pick it for this. If I pick a Harry song for like a book,
She
it's
loved
top
it.
tier.
She reserves Harry songs for like very, very special books, which
I
I
mean,
love.
Everything in the Harry Styles album is like has so much deep meaning. I feel like too, and the lyrics have so much, you could read so much into them.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I will have a song choice. I'll DM you my song choice as soon as I finish.
Yay.
And then we are both very thankful and lucky to have received Aftertaste as an advanced reader's copy. But where's the best place for readers to find your book? Do you have any special editions? Because we're coming up on our release date here.
Yeah, May 20th in the US, May 22nd if you're in the UK. And then around the world in translation later this year. It will be available in anywhere you get your books. So check out your local indie. Can't recommend that enough. There's also going to be an ebook, obviously, a hardcover, and an audiobook, which I will just plug for a minute. The narrators for this audiobook, like, just hit it completely out of the park. I cried reading it, or listening to it. I felt like I was hearing it for the first time. They were truly incredible. And there's actually 4 of them. There's one for each of the different kind of points of view in the book. The book kind of shifts POV in between the main character Constantine's third person, but in the context of his kind of trajectory and his story. And then there's other POVs that we get in between in these really short chapters. So they all have different narrators, and it's just such an amazing audiobook. Can't say enough.
I'm so excited. We are big audiobook girlies too. And even like reading this book for like the tour part, I like pictured like a different voice in my head, so I'm excited to listen to that narrator.
It's all really great and high energy. I'm really, really thrilled with how it turned out. So yeah, that's where I hope you'll check it out. I hope you'll come see me on tour, because I'll be doing a little book tour. So
is there anything else you'd like to add about what's to come? Anything else for the readers before we sign off for today?
Yeah, I'll be, like I said, I'll be doing a book tour. It starts in New York City and New Jersey. So I'm local to New Jersey. But there will be May 19th and 20th. There are events. So if you're local to those areas, come check them out. And then I'll be headed to DC, to the Miami area, to LA and San Francisco, to Iowa, to St. Louis, all over the place. And then a little bit in the UK too. So please come find me. I don't want to sit in an empty room. Show up.
I'm sure people will be there, especially because it sounds incredible. So
thank you.
So excited. And a huge thank you again to Daria Lavelle for joining us today. We really appreciate you hopping on with us. And please be sure to read Aftertaste when it releases on May 2025.
Yes. And where can everyone find you and support you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and on TikTok with my very silly videos at daria.lavelle.author. And then you can also find me on my website, darialavelle.com. You can sign up for the newsletter there. That keeps you posted on all of the events and goings on. I do some fun giveaways there too. So if you're into the idea of having fun food-related swag that goes with this book, where I tell you what page number to eat certain things on, come over to the newsletter. We'll be doing some fun stuff over there.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Just another big thank you to Daria Lavelle for joining us today. That was such a lovely interview. please pick up Aftertaste. I know I'm so excited to read it after chatting with her a little bit more. And that comes out May 20th. And she's going on tour and she's going to a lot of places. So y'all should go see her.
Yes.
And then so you can join us next week, Wednesday, April 23rd, because we have another very special episode. We are celebrating Independent Bookstore Day just a few days early with the Dear Reader Vault track. And we are going to be talking with a local bookstore here in Michigan, along with our plan to get out and shop local that day and talk a little bit about the Michigan Book Hop that involves multiple indie stores all across the state of Michigan.
Yes. And after that, we will continue our spring mixtape series. And on April 30th, we have A Romance on the Ranch, Rebel Blue Ranch to be specific, Hot Cowboys. That's all you need to know.
That's it.
All you need to know. Please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Discord, and Patreon. Give us your thoughts in our Discord server and on social media.
Yes. And please, please, please rate and review the podcast on your preferred platform. It helps us so much to get that 5-star review with visibility, and we would greatly appreciate it.
And remember, keep reading with kindness.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.